Shalawam, and welcome back to The Hidden Chosen. I am Hadassah Saiwan, and welcome back to End Times Prophecy Watch. We are still in part 13. This is the last segment of this particular study called The Two Witnesses, and this is the conclusion. This is the third section of this part 13. So let's get started on this amazing study that has been an eye-opener even for me. Yes, I'm telling you, when the Most High teaches you, He does not fail to surprise you and leaves you in awe. Okay? There will be people in the land of Yashwa'al who will seek to hurt these two prophets who we know as the two witnesses, but their efforts will fail, as these two anointed men will have divine powers to destroy, to ensure the success of their mission, and no one will be able to stop them until their task is completed. So this is the reason why Zechariah and Yochanan saw them as two olive trees, to allow us to know, yes, they are of the lineage of Yashwa'al, but also too they are anointed. That oil that is being poured into them is the power of the Most High, which we call the anointing. All right? It is because of this power that He will saturate them with that they'll be able to perform these miracles while they are prophesying their judgments. The two prophets will pronounce each of these 5 judgments, and each of the angels will blow their trumpet when that judgment is uttered. So in the second section of this study, talking about the two witnesses continued, we looked at how these prophets are going to prophesy, which will trigger the angels to sound their trumpets, which will trigger the angels who govern the creation of Alahayam Yahweh to destroy them. All right? And remember, that it's only from trumpet number 1 until trumpet number 5 that these two witnesses, these two prophets, will be prophesying. And it will last, those 5 trumpets, the length of time between the first trumpet and the 5th trumpet will be the span of 3.5 years. Because we know at the ending of 3.5 years that the beast that will emerge out of the abyss, we're talking about the Satan called Azazel, he will possess the beast empire to make it beast empire number 8, and that empire will destroy these two prophets, will behead them. All right? And we know this will happen when they are completed, when they have completed their mission. So let's read on. Angels are the caretakers of all the creations of Alahayam Yahweh, and they are also angels which care for the elements. Elements like the sun, the moon, the stars, the wind, the snow, hail. Angels govern all those things. Okay? Therefore, when the trumpet is blown, it will instruct these particular angels in charge of these creations to destroy them. Let's look at the book of Bara'ashayaf. That's Genesis chapter 19, verse 21. The angel said unto him, speaking of Lawat, who is Lot, see, I have accepted you concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow this city, for which you have spoken. So Lawat, the 2 angels arrived the night before to rescue Lawat and his family. And the 2 angels had to take them by hand to bring them out of the city. And told Lawat to go into the mountains. And Lawat said, no, I'd rather go to the city called Zoar. And Zoar was on the list to be destroyed, but because of Lawat, the angels did not destroy Zoar. So he told him, I have accepted this thing concerning what he had told him. He is not going to overthrow that particular city that he and his family were going to escape to. Verse 22, hurry, escape there, for you cannot do anything until you go there. Therefore, the name of the city was called Zoar. So we know Sodom and Gomorrah and a couple other cities were destroyed because they were all Sodomites. But Zoar was spared. All right, and after they escaped, meaning Lot and his family, then fire and brimstone came down from heaven. That's what the angels did on behalf of Alahayam Yahweh, to destroy these cities, these pagan, abominable cities. Revelation chapter 11, verse 7. So going back now to the two witnesses. And when they have finished their testimony, the beast that ascends out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them, and kill them. And their bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Matzorayim, where our Adawan was crucified. Our Adawan is speaking of Hamashiach. Now, they use the word Lord, capital L, lowercase O-R-D, to indicate a title for Hamashiach. But all capitalized letters, L-O-R-D, is speaking of the name of Alahayam, who is Yahweh. But we don't use the word or title Lord. We use Adawan, which means master. That is his correct title. And because we know that Hamashiach was crucified in the city, in our land, we know that it was called spiritually Sodom and Gomorrah. Why? Because it had become pagan by that time. He was there. That's why he went into the temple many a time. Okay? To call them out. The Pharisees them out too, the money changers. Because the city became like a pagan city. The equivalent of Sodom and the equivalent of Matzorayim. And when we look at the symbolism between those two names, which we will look at in a minute, we understand why Yochanan was instructed to call our beloved city by those two titles. Verse 9, and they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half. Now I have that underlined because they prophesied judgments for 3.5 years. Now is it a coincidence that their bodies were left lying in the streets for 3.5 days before they were resurrected to life? We're going to see that in a bit. Now remember, Hamashiach, when he died, he rose again 3 days later. But no one's supposed to equal him. All right? So 3.5 days later, these two prophets were resurrected. Let's read on. And shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwelt on the earth. So that's why we understand that they were in our city, Yerushalayim, in our land called Yashraal. And from there they were prophesying judgments not only to the people there in that land who don't belong there, but the judgments were extended worldwide. That's why there's a connection between these two prophets and the trumpet judgments. All right? They weren't them giving a judgment upon the earth and then the trumpet judgments were doing something else. No, they were connected to each other on the dot. It will be Azazel who will possess the beast empire, number 8, who will destroy them. So don't forget, beast empire number 7 is the NWO as we know it. Number 7, beast empire number 7, the NWO, which will be possessed by Gadriel. This will be a technology-based empire. I've done a study about that, a number of studies about that. In fact, when I began this series, I began technology jumping off the pages. And now they are influencing people to have technology in every square inch of their home. Because this technology will be the eyes and the ears of the devils that will control this earth, whether the earthly ones or the angels, the actual fallen angels. That's how they're going to know what people are doing. That's how they're going to know what people are saying. And this is how they're going to influence people to either submit to them or be destroyed. They'll be able to track people no matter where they go, as long as they have a device. Now they're introducing the smart watches. Well, they have always had smart watches, but now a certain person is indicating that all Americans must have one of these watches. A smart watch for their own health, for their own good. But this is only a way to desensitize people about their privacy. Because once you wear their devices, in fact, having their devices, you really don't have any privacy. If you notice, you'll be on the phone, cell phone, talking about a friend. In fact, you don't even need to be on the cell phone. You could just be talking, having a conversation with a person, and your phone is next to you, or your iPad, or your computer is listening. And then the algorithm will bring up commercials, ads, what have you, even YouTube channels concerning the thing that you were talking about. So if you were talking about sourdough bread, making sourdough bread, or I have a feeling to eat some sourdough bread, within minutes, you're going to see things popping up on your feed about sourdough bread. It's happened many a time. How many times have you gone from one country to another and noticed that your phone automatically changed everything about time and what have you? In fact, I remember when this first happened to me, I was so shocked. Right? It was my first time having a smartphone, and I landed in the island. And my telephone, when I turned on my phone, meaning because you have to put it in airplane mode. When you turn it on now, it says, welcome to Barbados, or welcome to Jamaica, or welcome back to Canada. It was so freaky. How did they know that I was traveling? How did my phone know that I was traveling? Because the algorithm, which is controlled by AI. Don't think that AI is new, AI has been around for a very, very long time. As long as there have been these devices, AI has been present. But it's only now that it's being brought to the forefront so that they can introduce more of their technology and cause the public, the general public, to accept them. But AI has been around for a very long time, so don't let them fool you. Since the dawn of time when these devices came on the market, there has always been AI, artificial intelligence. All right, let's read on now. Let's see where we left off. The entire earth will rejoice at their deaths, not because technology will broadcast their beheading as many today believe. Rather, it will prove that the earth will be one landmass again, which will allow word to travel quickly by carrier pigeons and word of mouth. All right? Does not mean that there will be technology. A lot of people make that assumption that because of technology, you got a cell phone and you got the computer and you got internet and all these different things, that's going to be the way in which people will receive information about what's going on concerning these two witnesses, these two troublemakers. Before there was technology, news got around. People used carrier pigeons, word of mouth. They had riders on horsebacks that would go from city to city to pass the message along. There would be no technology by this time. Technology was gone long time. By seal number 6, the great earthquake will come and destroy all technology on this earth as if it never existed. You will not even see a blade from an airplane or metal scrap of a car, nothing, because the earth will open up and swallow all the technology off the face of this earth as if it never existed. And don't let them fool you to think that there's satellites floating around in the atmosphere. There's a dome over our heads, and there's nothing that can suspend itself above our heads. What you're seeing passing back and forth are fallen angels. All right? Don't let them fool you. There's no such thing as satellites. When you look at their so-called satellites, it's paper mache. It's CGI. It's them doing stuff, when they're making movies. Back in the day when they used to make movies and they have all these different strange creatures and what. No, they didn't have the technology to have special effects. So they used to make miniatures, right? This is their way of creating that effect by making miniatures and then zooming them to make you think, the viewer, that this is actual size. And this is what they do with the so-called satellites in so-called space. They're little miniature things that they just use a lot of CGI and camera trickery and FX and all these different things. If you notice, you only see the two. You may see the sun, you may see the moon, you see the earth, but you don't see any other stars around. It's always blackness. And yet when you look up at the sky, it's blue. Don't tell me that that's the atmosphere. That's ridiculous. That's what they tell you in school to brainwash you to believe that there's space. And space is black, but above our heads is blue. Like, seriously. Take the wool out of your ears and listen to what Rawach HaQadash is telling us. Don't let these devils fool you. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. So we know that because of the great earthquake, the earth will be one landmass, so people don't have to cross over the oceans and the Pacific Oceans or Atlantic Ocean or whatever they call them, right? They don't have to pass over anything. It's all one landmass because the floods came in Noah's time, and broke up the one landmass as Alahayam had created the earth and made continents and islands. And the earthquake is going to come and bring it all back again as one landmass. That's why it's going to be a tremendous earthquake. Okay? So don't let them fool you into thinking that you need to have technology to get word around. Mankind is very resilient. They can get the message around very easily. We used to do it back in the days without technology, and we'll do it again when technology is finally wiped out off the face of this earth. All right? Word got around in the past without technology, and so it will again. Yes, it will. word of mouth, carrier pigeons. People be walking, traveling by horseback or wagons with mail, written mail, news about what's going on in that great city. Notice that their bodies were in the street of the great city, which we know is Yerushalayim, based on the next sentence. So the next sentence tells you that the city is spiritually called Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Matzorayim, where our Adawan was crucified. He was only crucified one place. That's in Yerushalayim, in our land. The great city was renamed Sodom and Matzorayim spiritually because there are spiritual implications attached to these two names. So when we think of Sodom, we think of Sodomites. You know what Sodomites are? Men with men. Okay. And we know that was an abominable city because of what they did. Men with men. Men with boys. Boys with men. And it was destroyed by Alahayam. And we saw that in Rawach chapter 19, when the angel took Rawach and his family out of that city, so that Alahayam can give the instruction to the angels to destroy it. Fire and brimstone, burn it to the ground. Never came back again to this day. And now we have Matzorayim, which symbolizes bondage. Bondage to what? We know that in the last 3.5 years that the city Yerushalayim will be trodden down underfoot by the Gentiles. And so it will become like Sodom, an abomination, and Matzorayim, meaning bondage to sin. There's going to be a lot more sin going on in that city. You see what a certain president want to do with that strip that everybody's fighting over? He want to turn it into Las Vegas, Sin City. Don't be surprised if he gets it. Don't be surprised if he actually does it. Because according to the prophecy, our land is going to become an abomination and bondage to sin, especially our city. We already know that there are a couple of different groups there. You have the Armenians, you have the Christians, you have the Muslims, and you have the Judaism. You have 4 different kinds of religions in that city. I know, I've been there. There are 4 quarters. You have the Armenian quarter, the Christian quarter, the Israeli quarter or Jewish quarter, whatever you want to call them, and you have the Muslim quarter. 4 different religions, and none of them worship Alahayam Yahweh. That's why they're fighting over our city to turn it into an abomination, a worse abomination than what it is right now, with all the paganism going on in there. All right, and you got the Christians celebrating every time a little something happened in that land. Oh, wow, this happened. This means we're closer to our rapture. We're closer to getting out of here. Oh, they're going to sacrifice the red heifers, and they're going to rebuild their temple so that they can sacrifice to their God. What God they're going to sacrifice to? Right? Anyways. That's a story for another time. But we know that's going on in our life. These Gentiles would turn our precious city into a sin city, worse than what we know today. And Alahayam, is permitting this. He's permitting it. He told Yehochanan to take the reed and measure the temple and the worshippers therein. But the outer court leave out because he's given it to the Gentiles to trodden it underfoot for 3.5 years. 42 months. So, because this is their last merry-go-round. Because once the 2 witnesses come, that's it for anyone and everyone in our land. So let them enjoy it right now, because they'll never see this land again. And He will permit them to do this for the last time ever. Let's look at Revelation chapter 11, verse 1. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of Alahayam and the altar. That's speaking of worship. It's all speaking of worship. Offering up your sacrifices, that's speaking of worship. And them that worship therein, worship in the temple. The true worshipers of Alahayam Yahweh. There's a measurement that we need to attain to in order to worship Alahayam Yahweh, in order to be in covenant with Him. That's what it's all about. Covenant. But the Gentiles, they don't have a covenant with Him, not yet. And these ones that will trod our city underfoot, they're the least ones that will want to be in covenant with Him even after they've seen His might, seen His power, seen His glory. You think they want anything to do with Him? This is after seal number 6, when the heavens roll back like a scroll and revealing Alahayam Yahweh sitting on His throne and the face of the Lamb, who is HaMashiach. You think that was enough to change their hearts to say, you know what? We have no right being in this land because this land belongs to the Negroes. We're not Negroes. We're Europeans. We need to go back to our land. You think that is enough to cause them to get out of the land? No, that's why He has to send the two witnesses, the 2 prophets. That's why they have to be tormented. Because this is the only way that you can pluck these people out of this land. They don't want to leave. They think it belongs to them. It does not belong to them. And it will take drastic measures, these 2 prophets, to prophesy judgments and burn them with fire from their mouths in order for them to get the message. And then finally, the great earthquake. Another great earthquake coming to destroy 7,000 of them. I'm getting ahead of myself, as usual. So let me read on. Verse 2. But the court which is without, meaning outside the temple, leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread underfoot 42 months. That's 3.5 years. That's the last 3.5 years of the end times, when time will come to an end. The sun will be suspended in the heaven above, under the dome, until it's completely with His saints, the southern kingdom. He said, don't bother measuring them. Don't bother even judging them about who they're worshiping and what they're doing. Give it to them. Let them continue on. This is their last merry-go-round. Because I'm coming to destroy them. Right? That's why He has to prepare these 2 witnesses, even as I'm speaking, to speak His words without fear, without trepidation, without anxiety, frustration. None of those emotions will touch them. They'll be fearless. And these people won't be able to touch them. Alahayam knew that Gentiles would take over our land once our forefathers were scattered from there. So remember, the Romans occupied our land. They took over our land. And after that, other Europeans came in. And to cause the world to believe that Europeans belong in that land, they brought over these people that call themselves Ashkenazi and Sephardic. And when you go to the Bible, you will see that Ashkenaz, because that's where they descended from, is an offspring of Japheth. Not Sawa, not what's his name? Sham. I wanted to say Shawaf, right? Not, but it's not Shawaf. So Shawaf. It's Sham. Sawaf is Seth, but Sham is the first son of Noah. Got to keep that straight. All right. So they're not the offspring of Sham. They will tell you themselves, we're the offspring of Ashkenaz, but yet they're hailed by the Christian community as being the authentic seed of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. They can't see it any other way. They have to believe this, because if they believe anything else, they will know that even who they believe in, this Jesus Christ, cannot be the true Savior, because he descended from the authentic seed of that land. And if the Ashkenazi and the Sephardic Jewish people, the Ish people, are not the authentic seed, then it means that Christianity is wrong. Because Christians believe in Jesus Christ. And he looks like them, Caucasian. So that's why many Christians will deny the facts and hold on to what they want to believe in, because heaven forbid if they're wrong. If they're wrong about the Ashkenazi and the Sephardic Ish people, then they're wrong about Jesus, then they're wrong about Christianity, then they're wrong about a rapture. Guess what? They're stuck. They're stuck, but they can't, they will not allow their minds to go that way. And it's all right, because the Most High doesn't want them. He's not interested in them. He's only interested in the Gentiles who will want to serve him no matter what. To serve his people, because the Gentiles aren't coming in to be like rulers, to be like kings and priests. No, they're coming in to serve Yashra'al, the 12 tribes, and yet they'll be given a portion and even a name. And they'll be treated with great kindness and love. But how many Europeans do you know will want to serve a Negro? Not too many. In fact, not many at all. So let's move on. Let's move on. That's why this study, this part 13, had to be divided into 3 parts. It is so packed with information. So packed. So let's read on. This was part of the many curses which afflicted us because of rebellion against him. That's why today we're scattered to the 4 corners. And we're scattered because our forefathers rebelled against Alahayam Yahweh. They took foreign wives. They served pagan gods. They threw their babies in the fire. All kinds of stuff. They forgot about his commandments, his laws, his statutes, his judgments, and they decided to live like Gentiles. He said, okay, you want to live like a Gentile? I'm going to scatter you amongst the Gentiles. And tell me how you like them apples. Tell me how you like it now. You're living happily in your own land. As long as I am your Alahayam, you're happy, you're protected, and provided for. But because the grass is always greener on the other side for our people, they want what the nations had. And to this day, we still want what the other nations have. Even though it might be putrid, even though it might be rancid, we don't care. It makes us feel good. We don't want to worship Alahayam Yahweh. That's why he sent the two prophets, Haggai and Zechariah, to the southern kingdom when they came back from Babylon. Because they were going into that same mode again. And he said, no, stop them in their tracks. Warn them. But our people, they read the scriptures either with their eyes closed or they just don't read them. To see the transgressions that our people have committed against the Most High to cause us to be in this place that we're sitting in right now under heavy oppression. We have not learned our lesson. Okay. Therefore, he allowed them in the land, meaning the Gentiles, to do as they wanted to do in our land, so that when the two witnesses appear, they will punish them for all their abominations which they have committed in our land. They don't want to be in the land to worship Alahayam Yahweh. They want to be in the land to desecrate it. Because they hated, in fact, past, present, and even in the future, they will hate Alahayam Yahweh and his people. You see, the devils know who we are. They know, okay, let me rephrase that, because we are hidden. We're the hidden chosen ones. All right? He doesn't know our identity per se, like individually, but he knows of our true identity as being the Negroes, the true authentic seed of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. They have known this for generations. That's why when you look at certain statues, they break the nose off. Because Europeans have those pointed, thin noses, but Negroes, they have those bigger noses. Wider. Not as wide as the Africans, but wider than a European. So if you want to convince the world, in the history books, that the Europeans, they built up this world and they're running this world, they're in control of everything, you're going to have to deface certain images. It was not a coincidence that you noticed that. Especially when you look at the statues in Giza, by the pyramids and stuff, my nose is all broken off. When I went to Petra, as you're going down I think it's called the Sikh, you got to pass through the Sikh to get into Petra proper, where the famous temple is situated. But all along the walls, there are images of people carved into the stone, because the stone is soft enough for you to carve images. And everything is perfect except the face. The face with the nose and the eyes even the hair has been removed. That was done on purpose. All you see the body and the legs, but you don't see the head, the face, the eyes, nothing. Gone. Because they've been trying to hide the true image of who we are in this world. Because if the images on those walls had looked like the Negroes, then people would be started questioning the history books. And that's why they paid all these so-called Italian artists like Da Vinci and Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo and all the different ones. I studied them in art history school. And they were commissioned to recreate the images from the Bible, certain images. That's why you have the Last Supper and all the images there. They look very effeminate. Then you have the famous Sistine Chapel, the roof. All of them looking European. You have the image. I can't remember if it's Michelangelo. Yeah, it must be Michelangelo. He did the structure, the sculpture rather, of David the Wad, and the Wad looks like a Roman. He looks just like the Romans. They had to do that to sell the story. All right. Okay. Let me carry on. Let me let me carry on. Let's read on. Our land, especially Yerushalayim, is a major part of our worship. It was a major part of our worship because that's where the temple was situated. You had the priesthood, you had the sacrifices and the ordinances and the festivals that we had to celebrate. And it all was a part of our covenant with Alahayam Yahweh. This is what he required for us to worship him. So you take away the temple, take away the priesthood, then you have nothing. We had nothing. And worse yet, we were taken out of our land. Many a time, the last time we fled, or were taken as slaves by the Romans, or destroyed. But the land laid empty of people for a very short period of time until they brought the Europeans in there. All right, let's read on. So it was our land, especially Yerushalayim, was a major part of our, that should be was, a major part of our worship, as it is our city, or it was our city of worship. This is where we came to worship, rather the weekly Shabbat or the yearly Shabbatawaf, meaning the festivals, the feast days. And so what we are seeing today occurring in our land will be nothing compared to the abominations they will be committing in the soon coming future. That's why everything now is focused on that land, because they are getting ready to make it an abomination, even worse than what it is right now. Okay, let's read on. Revelation chapter 11, verse 11. And after 3 days and a half, Rawach of life, the spirit of life from Alahayam, entered into them, speaking of the two witnesses that will be beheaded by Azazel. And they stood upon their feet. So now they're resurrected back to life. Their life has been returned to them. And great fear fell upon them which saw them. Why? Because they were celebrating that they were dead, gone forever. Verse 12, and they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up here. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud. And their enemies beheld them. And the same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell. And in the earthquake were slain 7,000, and the remnant were affrighted. Now they're afraid, and gave glory to Alahayam of heaven. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe comes quickly. So they were affrighted, and we know that they also fled from the land, because we know that these people, not only were some destroyed, but they also fled the city. They left. They ran back to their own people, right? Wherever their people were located, wherever the Russians will be by this time, wherever the Germans, wherever they will be situated outside of our land, That's where they will run to. So let's read on. Notice that the 3.5 days in which the bodies of the two prophets laid in the street matched somewhat the 3.5 years in which they prophesied judgments. They are no coincidence with Yahweh. After those days were completed, Yahweh called them up by first quickening them with His Rawach, His Spirit. This then represents to us the last two martyrs of our own people that this earth will ever see, and the second resurrection to life. No, don't get this confused. I'm talking second to Hamashiach, not the second resurrection to life that will come for the Gentiles at the end of the age after the white throne judgment. The first resurrection to life are our people, of our lineage, and of the 12 tribes of Yasha'al who were found righteous before Alahayam Yahweh. That's the first resurrection. The second resurrection to life will occur for the Gentiles at the end of the age after the white throne judgment. When the earth becomes new again, the heavens and new Yerushalayim descends from heaven. That will be the second resurrection. But this second quote-unquote resurrection to life is second to Hamashiach. He was the first to be resurrected. He was martyred. He was the first to be resurrected. And now these two will represent second to him. All right? Just wanted to explain that. The cloud which received them was Rawach HaQadash, similar to Hamashiach when he left the earth after his resurrection. So let's look at Acts chapter 1 verse 9. And when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. And that's when the angel told the men, the disciples that were looking on, why are you looking up? And they said, because he went up. He said, well, the very same way he went up is the same way he will come again. And that is in connection to Matthew chapter 24, when he comes in the clouds to regather the southern kingdom. Okay? An earthquake will come to reset our land, called Yasha'al, by destroying some of its illegal occupiers, and to send the remainder of them fleeing to their lands. Now the 10th part of the city that will fall will be the destruction of their habitations. All the buildings that you see there, all the structures, the roadways, every single thing that they have in that country. That's the 10th of the city that will fall. It has nothing to do with the land itself being destroyed. No, the land will be made desolate but not destroyed. What will be destroyed will be everything that they have built up in that land, because it's all going to be abominable before Yahweh. Every structure in there will be gone. Not even roads will be there, bridges, all gone, all flattened and swallowed by the earth, which the earth will swallow up in the earthquake, leaving the land desolate but not destroyed. So the 10th part of the city that will fall will be the destruction of their habitations, which the earth will swallow up in the earthquake, leaving the land desolate but not destroyed. When all is completed, there will be no man, woman, or child left there. They're all going to have to go. They have nothing now. And on top of all of that, no, they're really frightened. As the land will lay bare until the northern kingdom arrives, with the garden of Odan preceding them, as they will enter into a fruitful and blessed land. So the garden of Odan is leading the northern kingdom, the righteous remnant of the northern kingdom, and by the time they enter into the land will be like the garden of Odan, and they will have their own buildings, their own homes that Alahayam will cause to manifest in the land, just like what he has done or will do for the southern kingdom. We're going to have homes in our garden of Odan in third heaven. And so the northern kingdom will also have homes. They will have vineyards. They will have green pastures, flowing waters, fruitful trees everywhere. Because now the land will become like paradise for them. All right. Now let's finish up with Yasha'oyah, the book of Isaiah, chapter 13, verse 6. Howl you, for the day of Yahweh is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from Ha Shaddai, that's the Almighty. Therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt. And they shall be afraid. Pangs and sorrows shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travails. They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be as flames. Who do you think he's speaking of? This was a judgment that was set against Babylon. And this is twofold, because when you look at the language here, a lot of these things have not been fulfilled as yet. But we know that Babylon was taken down by Alahayam Yahweh. But Babylon also represents confusion. And the people in our land, they're confused because they've been placed there by the Babylonian system that is currently running this world. And when all these things, when he begins his judgment, this is exactly how they're going to react. They're going to act as if there are women in travail, giving childbirth. They're going to be in such pain. Verse 9, behold, the day of Yahweh comes cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate. And he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. Now, has this happened? No. This is something due to come. Is the land desolate right now? Is it empty? No. Got all kinds of people up in that land fighting for it as if it belongs to them. Verse 10, for the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light, and the sun shall be darkened in his going down, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. And I will punish the world for their evil, and the wicked for their iniquity. And I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. He's bringing down the devils and their devices, and the fallen angels and the agents. He's bringing them all down. They're the haughty ones, the terrible ones, the arrogant ones, the wicked ones. He's coming to punish the world. Did this happen? Has this happened yet? No. Even though he spoke this prophecy against the Babylonians, it was a prophecy made for the end times concerning his land and those people that are illegally occupying it. But at the same time, the judgment is not centered only in our land, but it's going to expand to the four corners of this earth. And this is speaking about the timing of the two witnesses. That's what he's going to use them to do. Verse 12, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. Therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall be removed out of her place in the wrath of Yahweh Sabaoth, and in the day of his fierce anger, because the earthquake that is coming after the two witnesses are taken up, that's him shaking the earth, shaking our land, destroying everything that belongs to them. And we know by trumpet number 7, there's going to be another earthquake, a worldwide earthquake. But don't forget, when an earthquake is centered in one place, the shaking is felt far afield. They're called tremors. All right? But trumpet number 6 There's going to be an earthquake that will destroy the man-made structures in our land. But by trumpet number 7, it's going to be another earthquake, a great earthquake that will cause some serious shaking on the in, in the entire earth. It's going to equally shake. There won't be a centralized earthquake, and then the shaking as it spread farther afield become less and less. No, it's going to be a tremendous earthquake that will be felt. If it's a 10.0 or whatever on the Richter scale, it will be like that at the four corners. All right, the four corners. The only people that would not feel this earthquake will be the northern kingdom, because they will escape now the remaining judgments after trumpet number 5. So they're not going to feel anything. They'll be traveling in the perpetual paradise. Okay, let's finish up. Because he's coming with great anger, with wrath, to destroy the heathens, the ones that have caused a lot of destruction on his earth and against his people. He's coming to take revenge for them. Their blood for our blood. That's the only way the earth now can be appeased for all the destruction that has been committed upon it, and especially concerning his people. Verse 14, and it shall be as a chaste roe, and as a sheep that no man takes up. Then shall every man turn to his own people, meaning return to his own people, and flee everyone into his own land. So the people that are there, they're going to try to find their people, wherever the Russians are at, wherever the other European people are at. They're going to try to find them and return to them wherever they are on the earth. But they're going to flee from our land. And once and for all, our land will be made desolate. Okay? Getting ready now, the next stage, because the northern kingdom will be there before the vials, the 7 vials are opened. They will be in the land by that time. Okay? Actually, they'll be in the land before the 7 vials are poured out. All right? So that's the ending of this very, very amazing study. This was really an eye-opener for me. And I mean, I had to go back and do some tweaking here and there because, you know, when you try to reconcile Zechariah chapter 4, you cannot leave anything out. You have to look at Haggai, you have to look at Nehemiah, you have to look at Nehemiah, you have to look at Ozariah. But the important thing that we wanted to understand here, the significance behind the 2 witnesses, why they were sent. They were sent because the land needed to be cleared out. The land will need to be cleared out. And the only way to uproot these people is to send the judgments directly coming from that land, affecting them first, affecting them, and even to the point of destroying them with fire from their mouths. All right? In order to get the message through their heads, you don't belong here, get out. But he's going to allow them to remain there for the full 3.5 years because the judgments need to be rolled out against them. They can't leave yet. But once the 3.5 years are up, now they'll be running with the tails between their legs. Because they realize, we don't belong here. We are not of these people. Okay. And what happened? He got the glory, even from them. They may not be honorable people. They may not even become his worshipers or any of the righteous remnant of the Gentiles, but they still had to give him praise. They still had to glorify him because they realized who he is, that he is Alahayam Yahweh, the great and mighty Hashaddai. Okay, let's conclude with the blessing for Yashwa'al taken from Ba chapter 6, verses 24 to 26. That's Numbers chapter 6, verses 24 to 26. Yabarakak Yahweh wa Yashamarak. May Yahweh bless you and keep you. Ya'ar Yahweh panayo alayak wa yachanak. May Yahweh cause his face to shine upon you and have favor upon you. Yasha'a Yahweh panayo alayak wa yasham lak Shalawam. May Yahweh lift up his face upon you and give you peace. And now we're going to recite the command we were instructed to recite when we lie down, when we get up, when we go out, and when we come in, taken from Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 and 5. That's the Barayam chapter 6, verses 4 and 5. Shama'o Yashwa'al Yahweh Alahayana Yahweh Achad wa Ahabav Af Yahweh Alahayak Bakal Babak Bakal Napashat Bakal Ma'adak. Hear, O Yashwa'al, Yahweh our Alahayam is one Yahweh, and you shall love your Alahayam with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And with that, I will say, Shalawam, Shalawam. All praises to the Most High. Abaya.